Today we're going to take a look at adapting a medium format Pentax 6.7 lens to a Fujifilm GFX 100-2 with our RhinoCam Vertex stitching adapter. Our RhinoCam Vertex line of adapters are stitching adapters, which means they rotate the camera's sensor around the vertex of an adapted lens. You capture 4 images, and then you stitch these 4 images together for a larger format image that captures more of the image circle of the adapted lens. This particular adapter is designed to mount a medium format Pentax 6.7 lens to a Fujifilm GFX medium format digital camera. And as you can see here, it is a fully metal adapter, very nice finish. It's very durable. Here on the front is where we mount the Pentax 6.7 lens. And then on the back here, this is where we mount our Fujifilm GFX camera. And then down here, we've got a tripod foot. There's a 1/4-20 mounting point, so you can put it on any tripod plate, but it also has an Arca Swiss design to it, which means you can actually mount this directly onto an Arca Swiss tripod and just lock it into place, which is very useful. Now this is a stitching adapter, so it's going to rotate your camera and its sensor 360 degrees, and it's going to rotate it to 4 main points. This is the first one, but then you rotate to the second one till you hear the click. That's your second shot. Rotate to the third one till you hear the click. Third shot. Rotate to the fourth click. Fourth shot. And then you take these images onto your computer and stitch them together for a square stitched image. Now, how exactly does this adapter work? Well, first off, Pentax 6.7 lenses were designed for a camera with a large space between the film plane and where the lens mounts. And the reason this lens had to be mounted so far away from the camera is there are all sorts of mechanisms that went between it and the film plane. And because this lens needs to be mounted this far away from the sensor or film plane, when we're adapting it to a mirrorless camera like the Fujifilm GFX, we have enough space for an adapter. And we don't just have to make standard adapters, we can also make specialty adapters like this RhinoCam Vertex with the 360-degree Vertex stitching. And the other question is, how am I able to get a 4-image stitch on this Pentax 6.7 lens? Wouldn't we get vignetting with this Fujifilm GFX medium format digital sensor? And the answer is no, you don't get vignetting because this lens has a much larger image circle than the sensor in this camera. Even though this Fuji GFX 100 does have a larger medium format digital sensor, this Pentax 6.7 lens has an even larger image circle, which means we're able to rotate the GFX's sensor 360 degrees, capture 4 images, and not capture any vignetting of this lens. We're able to move that sensor around inside the image circle of this lens and get a square image without any vignetting. Now, this is a fully manual stitching adapter. It doesn't have any electronic communication pins, as you can see, so it will not in any way communicate electronically between your Fuji GFX camera and the Pentax 6.7 lens, which means you'll just have to set the focus and aperture of your Pentax 6.7 lens manually, and then of course pick a shutter speed and ISO on your Fujifilm GFX. So we recommend shooting in full manual mode with this setup, especially since we're going to be capturing 4 images that need to match. Setting everything in manual is going to give you the best results. Now, before we adapt this Pentax 6.7 lens, there is one thing you need to know. As you can see here, we've got our manual aperture control lever. We can rotate that to pick our aperture. But look, I'm rotating the aperture control and I'm not adjusting the aperture of the lens. And that's because this Pentax 6.7 lens is currently set to auto. It's set to have the camera control the aperture automatically. Now, because we're using a fully manual adapter, we don't have any control like that. So we're going to want to set the Pentax 6.7 lens to manual aperture control. And with this specific model, it's very simple. You're just going to slide this tab to the left to manual, and there we go. Now we can adjust the aperture manually. See, I can open and close it at will. You just have to be careful when you're handling this lens that you don't bump this lever because it will go back to auto mode and you will lock open to your widest aperture. Mounting the lens on this adapter is super simple. You're just going to line up the red mounting dot on the lens with the red mounting dot on the RhinoCam adapter, push the lens into the adapter, and then rotate it to lock it into place. And then to remove the lens from the RhinoCam adapter, there's this little silver button. It's actually not a button, it's a lever. And you're gonna slide it away from the lens. And then when you slide it away, it's engaging the locking pin, so you can remove the lens from the adapter. So it's pretty simple to use. Now, a lot of people ask, how much play do we get between our lenses and adapters? And in the case of this lens and adapter, not much play at all. Actually, hardly any play. This is a very firmly mounted lens, firmly mounted in the adapter, hardly any rotation. And mounting the lens and adapter on the Fujifilm GFX camera is just as simple. Line up the mounting dots, press the adapter lens into the camera, and rotate it to lock it into place. And it's just like using a GFX lens. If you want to remove the adapter and lens from the camera, just press the lens release button on the camera and rotate it to remove it. And let's quickly check the lens adapter play. You can hear a little clicking sound. So there's a tiny bit of rotation, but it's very minimal, hardly any at all. Very firm fit. Now, before we can get to the fun part of using this stitching adapter to create stitched images, we have to give the Fujifilm GFX camera permission to shoot without a lens. And let me show you how to do that. So to get our Fuji GFX camera to work with an adapted manual lens, we're going to go to Menu. We're going to go to the tool icon down here. We're going to go down to button dial settings. And then we're going to go to the second page and see right here it says shoot without lens. That's currently turned off, so we're going to open that and we're going to turn it on. Now our GFX camera will be able to shoot without an electronic GFX lens attached to it, which means we can use it with a Fotodiox adapter and a manual lens. Okay, we've got the camera all set up, ready to shoot. Let's take a look at how to shoot stitched images with our RhinoCam Vertex adapter. First off, you're going to want to mount the adapter onto a tripod. And like I showed you at the beginning, the adapter has a tripod foot. There's a 1/4-20 mounting point on it, but it's also an Arca Swiss compatible plate. And I actually like to use the Arca Swiss. It's a lot simpler. You just slide it into an Arca Swiss style holder, lock it down, and you're ready to shoot. Next up, you're going to want to set your focus and your aperture, and then make sure all of your manual settings in your camera are set. Make sure you have an ISO picked, color balance picked, as well as a shutter speed. You're going to want all of those settings to be consistent because you're going to be taking 4 images of the same scene. And if you want those images to stitch together well, they're going to have to match. That's why you want to use the same aperture, the same focus, the same ISO, shutter speed, and color balance. If you set any of those things to auto, as you're rotating the camera and taking multiple shots, some of those settings might change a little bit, and then the 4 images won't match each other and they won't stitch as well. Also, you're not going to see the entire square image that you're capturing because you have to rotate the camera to its 4 placements to see the full image composition. So before you take your shot, it's kind of nice to lock down your tripod and then rotate to the 4 positions and look through the viewfinder, kind of get a feel for what your square image is going to look like when it's stitched. So as you're looking through the viewfinder, rotating the camera to its 4 shots, you can kind of make some adjustments, change the framing a little bit. And once you're happy with the framing of your 4 image stitch, it's time to take your shots. So with the camera upright like this, you're going to take your first shot, rotate till you hear a click to your second shot, rotate again so the camera is upside down, and take a third shot. You kind of have to reach under to get to the shutter. Then rotate one more time and take a 4th shot. Now you've got your 4 images captured through this medium format lens, and you can take these 4 images onto your computer. I like to use Photoshop, and I go to the photo merge function. I select the 4 images and I stitch them together. And what you end up with is a 4 image stitch that has a 6x6 style look to it. It's that beautiful medium format square look. Now, just because we're using the medium format digital sensor of this Fujifilm GFX and we're adapting a Pentax 6x7 lens, we're not actually going to get a true Pentax 6x7 image. For a little bit of reference, here's a 6x7 medium format lens's image circle, and here is a 6x7 film camera's crop. This is the amount of the lens's image circle that a 6x7 film camera captures. That's 60 by 70 millimeters. And then also here's a 6x6 film camera's crop. That's a square image. That's 60 by 60 millimeters. And then this is the Fuji GFX camera's digital sensor. It's a 43.8 by 32.9 millimeter sensor. But as you can see, as we offset the sensor and then we rotate it with the RhinoCam Vertex and capture 4 images, we're getting 4 overlapped shots that come out to a 65 by 65 millimeter capture size. It's a 2.93x increase in area, and it's an 0.59x crop factor. So with this adapter, we're actually capturing a bit more of the 6x7 lens's image circle than we would with a 6x7 film camera. Now, a couple quick notes for using a stitching adapter like this. You're going to want to make sure there's not too much motion in your shot. If you're photographing traffic, if there's cars driving around, or if there's a heavy wind and trees and plants are moving, or if there's people walking around, creating a stitched image might be a bit more challenging. If you're photographing a crowd, the people are going to be moving around between each of the 4 shots. So when you try to stitch the 4 images together, they might not stitch very well. So we definitely recommend using our RhinoCam Vertex adapter to shoot more still life type stuff, still landscapes. Now you can make it work with people as long as they're not moving too much. And we found even with motion like waves or trees that are blowing around, Photoshop actually does a pretty good job stitching them together to create a nice image. And if you are capturing motion like a lot of moving traffic, really rough, wavy water, you can always shoot long exposures. You can actually blur the motion of the 4 shots, and then they're going to stitch together a lot easier. Okay, that was a quick look at using our Pentax 6.7 to Fuji GFX RhinoCam Vertex stitching adapter. Now, if you don't have this specific lens or the specific camera, if you have a different kind of mirrorless camera, or you want to use a different kind of lens, don't worry, we have an entire line of RhinoCam Vertex adapters for various medium format and even some full frame lenses, and for various medium format digital, full frame digital, and APS crop sensor cameras. So if you'd like to learn about any of the RhinoCam Vertex adapters we have to offer, click the link in the description below. We'll also have a link for this specific adapter, so you can check that out as well. And if you have any questions about anything I said in today's video, I realize a stitching adapter can be kind of complicated, kind of confusing, and it can also be a little controversial. Comment below. I'd love to help you out. Let me know if you have any questions about the math of the crop, if you have any questions about the resolution of the lens. We can get into all that in the comments below. Also, click right here to subscribe to our YouTube channel to get more videos just like this one. I'm Sean with Fotodiox.com, and thanks for watching.